That's our.
It's nice for me.
Will, you literally wear shorts and a t-shirt in like negative 20 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice.
So, again, I asked that if you guys need to use one of my calculators, that you, if you need to put your phone in my bin, that's fine. But that you have it, you do have a calculator out, so you're not just counting on me to do the math in front of you. So, this one's asking us to use both estimation and a calculator to do our work here. So, a word problem. I don't know, this book must have some sort of deal with Subway, because they have a whole bunch of problems on like the Subway restaurants,
Subway.
which is kind of strange, because usually you hear like, you know, Mr. Sub Shop, like they try to like be really like blanket, like
I love
basic, and this one specifically uses Subway and like
I'm
photos of Subway.
surprised that, I was like, I trademark.
Well, no, I think Subway and this math book have like some sort of deal, like they're like working in cahoots or something. So, so find the total cost if Subway buys 32 baking ovens at a cost of $1,538 each and 28 warming ovens at $887 each. So estimation and a calculator. So if we want to do an estimate, again, that's kind of talking about we're in a business meeting, we're like trying to quickly do something and have like a ballpark figure, like is it going to be $10,000? Is it going to be $50,000? We want to have some sort of ballpark versus just like being like, I don't know what that is, I need my calculator. So let's do estimation and then also like the exact value. So 32 baking ovens as a cost of $1,538 each. How are you going to estimate that? So you're going to do 30 at $1,500. You guys think that's a pretty good estimation?
I was gonna be here 30, 15, 3, 15.
Oh, that's kind of what I would do too, yeah. So I would look, like he just said, I would look at just the 15 and the 3. So that would be 15 times 3 is 45. And then we need 3 zeros. So that's our first part here. Then 28 warming ovens at $887 each. So 28, round up to 30, right again? 887. I'd say 1,000 is probably closer. So a lot of times with this, I use kind of a front end rounding or like a nearest maybe 5. But if I'm talking about 5 versus 1,000, 500 versus 1,000, obviously 1,000 is a little bit closer. So this would be 30,000. And so those are the warming ovens. So what do I need to do with those together? Add them. So I end up with $75,000. So that's our estimated amount. If we want the exact value, you probably need to grab your calculators. So we're doing 32 times 1538, and then we're adding that to 28 times 887. So I'll give you guys a minute to do that and let me know what you guys end up with. We'll see how close we were in estimation versus exact. Again, guys, I really expect everyone's working on their calculator. And if you're struggling to get your answer to be what you think it should be, or you like check with someone nearby and you get something different, please ask, like if you're doing something wrong in your calculator, we have to figure that out before you get to a test and are stuck in like, what'd you guys get as your total? What'd you get? 74,052. That's pretty close for an estimation versus us getting an exact answer. So this is a pretty good one in terms of estimate versus actual. You know, going into the meeting knowing about how much we're gonna spend. That's pretty good how close we were there. Obviously the exact value is more important if I'm actually writing a check out. I'm not gonna round up for the guy and be like, here, just take the extra, you know, $900, probably not. Right, you got some sort of, you know, income that I'm not aware of, but yeah, like, so, I would probably be more exact if I was actually paying someone versus trying to make an estimate. Okay, so we're gonna talk about place value with decimals. And so we're doing a similar chart of what we did with the whole numbers. So with decimals, we typically will start with, so like the whole numbers would be over here. So like this is gonna be like 0. Oops, it doesn't like doing points on here, so let's see. 0 point, there's the decimal place. And then our decimals from there that we'll do. So, so the whole numbers would be over here. And then 0 and then decimal, and then we're gonna go our decimal places. Now, kind of weird, this would normally be like the ones place here. Remember that? So then we have our decimal point. And then we have, it doesn't go the ones place. That's probably the biggest misconception. It's the tenths, yeah. Oops, I missed an H. So tenths is that first decimal place there. And then it's hundredths. So it's a similar name as the other side, it just adds that TH on the end because these are all fractions. So when we're talking about tenths, it's like 1/10 or 1/100th. Then it goes thousands. Is there another Luke? And then what's after thousands, guys? It goes 10,000s, 100,000s. So 10,000, 100,000, so those kind of move down that way. Then there's going to be millions. So they need those TH on the end. And it's 10 million. I always feel like I'm like stuttering at the end. 10 millions. Like I'm like forgetting part of it. And then again, millions goes on. 100 millions. And then there's billions. It keeps going that way. This is getting really, really small, kind of like big, crazy money before that we had. These are really, really tiny. Billions. And if you have a hard time reading this, then you just see another version of that. And it obviously keeps going. But that 0 is kind of a placeholder, and then our decimal points from there. So a couple of quick notes. I think I have 2 things for this comment. One of them is we're not going to use commas at all with decimal points. So decimal or commas only come up with whole numbers. So no commas are needed for decimals. So like, for instance, if I'm talking about a whole number, but if it's a decimal, I don't use a comma at all. Does that kind of make sense? So comma versus no comma. The other thing is when you use the word and, that's where the decimal place goes. So when I say the word and, that's the decimal point. So when we see this 9 and 15/100ths, 9 isn't one of those TH word, it's not like ninths. So 9 is just our whole number, and then and tells me to put a decimal point there. And I know my decimal point's really small, but my board gets weird if I try to draw like a point. It's like it thinks I'm trying to do something else. Now 15/100ths. So what exactly do you think that is, or what 15/100ths? So this is our key. This is where the second digit's gonna go. So if we have 15, the hundredths is gonna be that second place. So the 1 is actually gonna be the tens place, and then the 5 is gonna be the tens place, so it's gonna be 9.15 would be what this looks like. Hundredths is the second place, so that's what we look at for that. So see if you can write this one out. 32 and 68 thousandths. 32 and 68 thousandths. Use that chart up above to help you.
That first period.
Yeah, but my pre-calc is like 19, and then this one's 15, I think.
So I might put a second, just stay on.
Okay. Yeah, if you have enough space. All right. So in this case, you guys, 32 is our whole number, and there's our decimal point, and 68 thousandths. So remember, it goes tenths, and then it goes hundredths, and then it's thousandths, so if we're at thousandths, the 68 has to go like a place over, so we do need like a placeholder to fill in that 0. Now, if I remember asking you to read this answer out loud, if you say 32.068, I'm going to be okay with it. But if someone says 68 thousandths, I don't want you guys to be like, what did they just say? Like, I mean, you should understand what they're talking about there. Okay? All right, so that being said, we also can do some rounding with this. And so rounding to those specific decimal places. So just like we rounded with whole numbers, we're going to round with decimals. So we go to that decimal place and we look one number to the right of it. So hundredths, in this case here. So it goes tenths, hundredths. So we're looking at the 1. And we're going to go to the place right to the right of it. So that's 0. Is that below or above 5? Below. So that means I'm going to round down. So that means we just leave that as a 1. So this ends up being 209.51. So we just leave it that way. So you drop the rest of those digits off. To put them as zeros just isn't necessary. It's kind of a waste of time and space. So see if you guys can do this next one, 10,000ths place. So you guys can get that one. It's a little bit tricky. So what decimal place is the 10,000ths place? The 9. So this one's a little bit tricky. So we have a 9. We look at the place to the right of it. It's a 6. So that's going to tell me to round up, right? So the 9 technically is going to become a 10. So this 9 needs to go up. So this is going to be 0.05. But then the 9's going to become a 10, so we're giving another 1 to that 1, so it's going to be 2. And you can leave it that way. You can put the 0 if you want to show that that became a 0, but the 5, 2 would be fine with me as well. Okay. All right. So last thing before we take a little break here is talking about dollars and cents. So one of the things to be around to is with dollars and cents is going to be a really helpful thing to know how to round, because both of those are applicable in our lives. So when they talk about rounding to the nearest dollar, that means the ones place. So if they say to round to the dollar, so rounding this should be. So if I have like a number like 52.63, the dollars place is going to be like basically the closest dollar to that. Like if I don't want to deal with change, like I feel like that was something during like COVID. For a while they were like, no change. Like I don't know if it had to do with COVID or something with the printing money or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It was all farce. I don't know. So there was no change. So we were like rounding up. So we were rounding up to the nearest dollar, so we'd make that $53. Hey, Colin, I think you're supposed to go, right? Wasn't it 2:15?
Yeah.
Okay. Not that I want you to go, but I don't want you to be late.
I think you need to go now.
I think it's time for you to leave.
I think it's time.
You know, so if like, I don't know, like, and it probably if it was like, depending on who owes me what, like I'd probably round down most times, so like don't worry about the change. You know, if Miss Miller's trying to pay me back for something, I'm like, round up for sure, lady. Like, so.
Just get more money.
I don't know if you guys knew last year, but I was her Amazon supplier, so she does not have Amazon Prime, and she did not really know how wonderful Amazon Prime was. So she was ordering stuff for her puppy all the time, and she'd be like, it comes, you know, the next day. Like I'm like, you don't need to go to the pet. She goes, where do you get that? I'm like, the pet store? And I was like, no, you get it from Amazon. It shows up on your porch like the next day.
Amazing.
I know. And like, and so I have her address like saved in my account. But then she's always like handing me cash last spring. So she'd be like, how much do I owe you? And she'd be like slipping me like a 20.
Your eyes, yeah, it looked a little shady for anyone sitting.
And then she kind of got addicted to it. And then she like was like wanting to.
Chewy.com.
Yeah. So, I know.
My mom calls it a lottery because she always buys so much she doesn't know what's in each box.
Yeah, no, I know. Like Mr. John would be like, "What'd you order?" I'm like, I don't remember. And it was like yesterday. Like I'm like, how do I not remember what I ordered yesterday? But like, and so I have a separate Amazon credit card, and I'm always amazed at my balance. Like I'm like, how did I spend $500 on Amazon this month? Like so ridiculous. So no, it's a good thing though. There's some good deals out there. Yeah. All right. So dollars, we round to that nearest dollar versus cents. We don't have to go any smaller. It's not like the stores like give me, you know, a half of a penny. Like when it, you know, they get into dollars and cents, they round it off at cents. So if something is, you know, so if it's 0.723 when they actually figure it out, they're not going to charge you like 3/10 of a penny. They're going to round it off to this spot. So again, the 3 tells me to round down, so this would be 72 cents. Yes?
Judging from how greedy stores are, they round up.
Yeah, you think. No, I think they have to. I think there's something that they have to, but yeah, you think.
It's in the wall.
So, do you guys want to take a break?
Yes.
All right.
No.
So,
Because
so
we never seen the movie The Office, not the show.
yeah.
The movie.
So that's how they like, yeah, so there's a movie that if you ever see, is it called Office Space? It's called Office Space.
Office Space.
But yeah, it's, I mean, yeah, but so they, like the guys, like they start taking those extra amounts and like putting it in their own account. But that ends up adding up way more than they expected,
I
like,
think it was like for $1 million.
Yeah.
That's good.
yeah, it was embezzlement because they were like, oh, we'll just make a little bit extra money on the side, and then they find out that they're like millionaires and they're gonna be like, now they found out it's like a federal offense.
Yeah.
No one is federal offense and you're going to jail for life. And that, all that money is.
So that's part of that movie. It's pretty funny, like if you're, it is similar to The Office but different enough.
Yeah,
Like,
it was, yeah.
yeah. So it's called Office Space. It's like a 90s movie. There's definitely inappropriate parts. So if you're like my parent, like you go home and be like, Miss Miller told me to watch this movie.